A cordial greeting. Today is Wednesday, June 14, 2023. This is meteorologist Ruben Garcia speaking in today's video. I would like to provide an update on the forecast related to several tropical waves that will be emerging from Africa over the next few days. Today, we have seen that the majority of meteorological models now predict a good chance of the development of a tropical depression or tropical storm by the beginning or middle of next week. Additionally, I would like to mention that tonight, I will be recording a video discussing the potential development of low-pressure systems in the southern region of Mexico. However, at the moment, it is anticipated that these systems will maintain a west-northwest trajectory without approaching the Mexican coast. Let's now talk about these tropical waves. Remember that over the past few days, I had mentioned that strong tropical waves would emerge from the region of Africa, and the models have shown that they will likely remain strong as they move west-northwest over the next 7 to 10 days. It is important to note that currently, the National Hurricane Center has not designated this area as an area of interest for cyclonic development, mainly because it is extremely rare for a tropical cyclone to form in this region in June. Historically, the conditions are not favorable for cyclonic development. However, over the next few days, we will have some very atypical factors that could contribute to the formation of the first cyclone of the season in the tropical Atlantic. I believe that the current support we have from the models will be sufficient for the National Hurricane Center to designate this area with at least a 10% or 20% chance of development over the next 7 days by 8 p.m. tonight. In this video, we will discuss the different model forecasts and also the conditions that could lead to cyclonic development of one of these two tropical waves that will emerge from Africa in the coming days. Let's take a look at the satellite image of the first wave, which remains quite active in terms of rainfall and thunderstorms. It is expected to move over the waters of the Atlantic Ocean in the next 36 hours. We will be closely monitoring this disturbance once it moves away from the African region. Before we look at the models, let's talk about the current conditions and why it is possible for this area to see development first. Remember that the tropical Atlantic has warmed significantly over the past month, and currently, all the yellow and red areas indicate temperatures exceeding 26 to 27 degrees Celsius. These water temperatures provide the energy necessary for cyclonic development throughout this entire sector. You can see that temperature anomalies indicate that these waters are 2 to 4 degrees Celsius above normal. There is enough energy for these tropical waves to remain very active as they move westward. As I mentioned last Monday, a phase of the Madden-Julian oscillation will be moving along with a Kelvin wave through the Caribbean region and then over the Atlantic. This can create favorable conditions for cyclonic development, despite being in the month of June. You can observe this in the following image, where the green and blue colors represent conditions that are favorable for the strengthening of these systems. Therefore, in combination with warm temperatures, there may be marginally favorable conditions for development. Note that a broad moisture field is expected to accompany the first tropical wave. In this image, we can see moisture anomalies in the atmosphere, indicating a broad moisture field that will be accompanying these tropical waves. This can protect the disturbances from the stable and dry air typically present in the Atlantic tropical region in June. This is another factor that supports the likelihood of at least seeing a strong tropical wave and perhaps a tropical depression or tropical storm. Lastly, note that the anticipated wind shear in this area is expected to be below normal, which is another factor that could facilitate development. Due to these forecasted conditions, we have observed more aggressive development predictions for this tropical wave today. It is important to mention that if we do see the development of this disturbance in this area in June, it is historically a precursor that the hurricane season may be more active than anticipated, despite the El Niño phenomenon. Let's now take a look at some of the model runs. Here we have the European model, which predicts a tropical depression around Tuesday or Wednesday of next week as it moves west-northwest. As you can see, this disturbance is still far from the Caribbean region, and we will have several days to observe how it behaves once it moves away from Africa and over the waters of the Atlantic. The good news is that although the conditions may allow for gradual development, the European model keeps this system relatively weak. Therefore, we are not talking about a hurricane, and most likely, we would be dealing with a weak tropical depression or tropical storm. It is also too early to determine if this disturbance could reach the Caribbean region, as it is a long-term forecast. We also have the latest run of the GFS model, which, in the afternoon hours today, shows a more aggressive scenario with a tropical storm developing between Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday of next week as it moves west-northwest. A trend in the GFS model that we will be monitoring over the next few days is that it increasingly shows more development for this tropical wave. I believe this will be enough for the National Hurricane Center to designate this area as an area of interest for cyclonic development over the next 7 days by 8 p.m. tonight. Another reliable model, the UK model, does not develop this disturbance but shows a strong tropical wave moving towards the northeast of the Caribbean by the middle of next week. This is also an indication that at least the conditions will be favorable for a fairly strong system moving through this area. In fact, approximately 50% of the members of the European model develop at least one tropical depression during the beginning of next week. And we can see that in the following image, where the ensemble members of the European model have up to a 50 or 55% chance of a depression forming by Tuesday or Wednesday in the middle of the Caribbean and the African region. Lastly, take a look at the ensemble members of the GFS model. Some of them also develop a tropical depression or weak tropical storm. It is important to mention that this was the midday run, and it is very likely that the upcoming run, which will be released in a few minutes, will show more members of the GFS model indicating development. We will be paying attention to this change, and over the next few days, I will continue recording updates to keep you informed. But the important thing is for you to stay calm. This is a long-term forecast, and although we anticipate that the conditions may allow for the development of at least a weak cyclone, the reality is that it is very unlikely to see a strong cyclone in this area during the month of June. I repeat, we will have many days to observe, and at the moment, there is no reason to worry. To make sure you don't miss the videos I will be recording over the next few days and throughout the season, I invite you to subscribe to my channel by clicking on the red button below the video on my YouTube channel that says subscribe or subscribe it. Remember to click on the bell icon to receive notifications when I upload new videos. Well, with that, I say goodbye, and I will see you tomorrow when I record a new update. Until then, take care. Goodbye.